Hello, everyone, and welcome to this preparation for a fascinating study day, which will be coming to you on the 15th, Saturday, the 15th of January from Gidea Park. It's called The Evolution of the Mass. It's now 2022, and that is 60 years since the opening of the Second Vatican Council in 1962. And for those of us who can think back to the council and people who even sort of remember the council, one of the things they will tell you is, well, it changed the liturgy. It brought the liturgy up to date. It meant that we could take part in the liturgy. And by that, they mean we could take part in the Mass. In fact, Vatican II is a huge step in this process of what we've called the evolution of the Mass. And I'm delighted to welcome Professor Deacon John Morrill. He's got 50 years experience as a professional historian and 25 years experience as a deacon of the Catholic Church. So he combines professional historical expertise with that knowledge and experience of the life of the Catholic Church. So, John, we're very pleased that you can give us these talks. And I just want to ask you as a starter, what do you think we should be looking forward to in this study day on the 15th of January?
Well, I'm going to start, Adrian, by taking us right back to the 100 years after Jesus died, when we have the first account of a Mass by Justin Martyr, giving a detailed account of what happened at a Mass. And I think people are going to be very surprised. There are so many elements in it which have been absolutely continuous. So I want to start by saying the Mass is the Mass is the Mass. That there are, of course, changes and modifications, but the essence of it is there from the very beginnings of the Church. Mm-hmm. So I want to start with that and then leap forward and look at the Second Vatican Council thinking about the reform of the liturgy to show how that is entirely consistent with how the early Church understood what's really happening when we gather for Mass.
Mm-hmm. I mean, one of the issues around at present is the issue of translation into vernacular languages, which of course was encouraged at Vatican II. I mean, they had the debate about Latin. Should we preserve Latin or should we move into the language of the people? And of course, the Church these days says, yes, the liturgy must be in the language of the people. But of course, sometimes that language can be very stilted and even archaic. Would you say something about that on the 15th?
Well, I certainly can do. I should certainly be talking about one or two bits of very poor translation that we have. And if we start perhaps with the one I most dislike, you know, at the end of the Mass, the Latin is iter missa est, and which we mistranslate as go the Mass is ended. The one thing that isn't happening is an ending. It is ascending forth. The Mass takes its name from missa, not missa from Mass. Yeah. So what we say at the end of the Mass is go, it is sent or she is sent, meaning the good news. And it means we are sent. We are sent to bear as the good news. So there are lots of problems which arise when you start translating. And I shall come up with some rather subtler ones than that, but actually quite interesting ones. And also the endless battle between biblical scholars and liturgists over which biblical texts to use. I mean, I'm not going to explain it now. You'll have to listen in on the 15th to find out. But why is it that in all the Bible translations, when John the Baptist sees Jesus walking past, he says, oh, behold the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world, peccatum mundi. In the liturgy, we say peccata mundi, Lamb of God, you take away the sins of the world. So is the Church saying that Jesus went round with a hoover, hoovering up sins, or did he address the sinfulness of the world? And why do liturgists not follow biblical scholars in giving us the... So it's these kind of issues which will be certainly involved in what I'm talking about.
Yes, yes. And of course, we can't look at the Mass these days without recalling that Pope Francis even in recent months, has urged us to adopt the Mass as was desired by Vatican II, and to make sure that we have a unity in the way that we come together as the World Church in celebrating the Eucharist. So it's very ad rem. I mean, it's very relevant to the present situation of the Church.
Well, it is. I mean, the Second Vatican Council, I think, wanted to broaden the options. It didn't necessarily want to abolish outright what had gone before, but it wanted to give as a priority a Mass in which there was much more visible participation by the people of God. I mean, the question is to my mind not whether or not you should banish the old rite, but whether you should allow people who only believe the old rite is valid to continue to practice in that way. I mean, so that's the issue, which I will try and address at the end of the second of the sessions.
Yes. Well, I think it's going to be a fascinating program. It will, I can tell our listeners, viewers, that it will be available on whatgoodnews.org from 11 o'clock on Saturday, the 15th of January, live, and then it will be there subsequently as part of our archive, our collection of study days. And for anyone who hasn't yet subscribed, it's all free, by the way, subscribe to whatgoodnews.org. You simply go to the homepage and you can register your details, so that we'll keep you up to date with this and with various other things that we're doing at the present time. So I want to thank the invisible Paul Samuels, who does all the technical things, but thank you particularly, John, and say how much we're looking forward to Saturday, the 15th of January, the evolution of the Mass. Thank you very much, everyone.